Welcome to class. So look, a few things have changed. I know you can't see all of it, but I'll give you a full tutorial or full walkthrough soon. I painted my desk, I painted the floor, I painted the walls, painted the ceiling. I've been painting all week. Oh my goodness, it's been a long week. Mostly the caulking, the caulking is driving me insane, but I finished that. You can tell, I don't know if you can tell, there's paint all over my hands, my fingers are ripped up. I wasn't thinking that I would do a tutorial because my hands are so bad, so just don't look at that. It'll heal hopefully soon, and see if I can kind of make this a little symmetrical here. Or maybe not. Do we want it symmetrical? Not really. Yeah, so my hands will heal, and I'll be better for next class, I hope, unless I continue to work on this room. But I think I'm pretty much done the room. So I have a few things on the go right now, and I was just thinking about this. I know I did a live video during the week for last weekend, or that's the only thing I could come up with because I've been working on this room, so my whole studio has been taken apart, and there was nothing I could do at all. And I just realized that today is Friday, and I like to get the videos out to you guys on Saturdays. So I thought I would grab whatever I've got and give you a little quick little video of me painting it. Because that's kind of the point, right? Yes, I'm just sketching it out. And I just set everything back up. The table was just painted yesterday, so I'm going to have to imagine or think, where are my brushes? Found them. They were in my travel bag. Perfect place. So that one's going to be way too big. Look, it got a little squished. It's going to be too big, but we want something. So let's go some rounds. This will be a round size 4. And that's probably enough, but maybe we should do something small. I won't do the rosemary triangle brush. Instead, I'm going to do, this is a script brush. It's called script brush. This is the Da Vinci 5519 script brush, and it's the two-tone at the end. It's just an amazing brush. I really, really like it. Just in case, I'm going to grab some paper towel as well, so that I have that in hand in case something goes wrong. These were all recently washed. I washed everything yesterday, but then I've been doing so much work in here. Oh, and I cut the table. I built the table a few weeks ago, and then I came back and I trimmed one of the edges. So anyway, that dust went everywhere. Okay, so this is a fig. This is a fig, and I grew this fig. It's a beautiful fig. I think it's the Olympic fig. It makes really big, beautiful figs. But I have only been growing it for 1 year. It's still a little guy. So I don't know. I haven't tried the figs from this particular plant yet. So, like always, I want to lay down my water first. I think we're going to make this kind of simple, but we are going to start coming back, probably starting next week, and doing a little more complicated things. So if you're missing my really complicated stuff, don't worry. It is coming. It's just that this week is still a little crazy. So I want to throw the water down. The room isn't too dry today, so that's good. I'm kind of dancing it or skipping it along. I'm trying to leave some gaps as I go, which you will see in a few seconds. In fact, let's just do that one section first. Now, using the color I've already made from, when was the last time I made this color? The grapes, maybe. I'm just going to lift some of that, tap it across. And this is going to give me some of these little spaces. See how that just really quickly filled in? Gives me a little more interest in here. And then coming down. Now, as this comes down, it goes from a lighter color to a darker color. So, and it kind of is the same on the other side. Not too much, but a little bit. So I'm going to stick with those spaces because I like the way they look. Oops. There we go. We're going to leave the middle white because that will be where our stem is. Just coming down and painting it gently alongside the stem, but leave that initial part white. Okay, and then the same thing over here. Let's use the other brush because it's got a slightly more better point on the end. So now here I wet it first and then I let the color move. So over here I'm just gonna do the opposite. I'm going to wet it with the color, and then depending, I might drop more color in. This is kind of better because you guys can see what I'm doing. I can tell I haven't painted in a few days because my hands are not really shaky, but they feel like they don't really want to cooperate. Okay, let's move to something bigger. Okay. And again, we're just dropping it in, just tapping it along, kind of keeping some of these little spaces in here. I do like the way it looks more if the water is first placed and then the paint is dropped into the water. So somewhere around here, okay, we've got these little spiky things going up. We'll put them in later. This is very dirty. A lot of dust floating around my room. Okay. Then as it gets darker down here, I'm going to start adding a little more in. And I think this would lend itself really well to be a pen and ink piece. That could be interesting. And then again, following that little vein. Okay, let's do the same over here. Squiggles and bumps, squiggles and bumps. Bumps and squiggles. Okay, going up the side here, same thing. I'm going to bring it back up to this lightness to keep that light theme. Oops. And then we've got this here. Almost partitions it, right? Actually, it comes way down here. Oops. There we go. And then let's do the same thing down here. Let's add more squiggly wigglies. This is the perfect way to capture that, I can't think today. I don't think I've eaten enough. I think I should go eat. Yeah, it's the perfect way to capture the lights and the highlights, these little white spots everywhere, and it gives the overall piece, I'm hoping, when I'm done, it'll give it a feeling of lightness and airiness, which I wouldn't get if I had just covered the whole thing edge to edge in one solid tone, or one solid wash of paint, regardless of the tone that it would be. Okay. And I want to continue with the theme of having them somewhat similar, so I'm going to come over here and do the same kind of thing, just adding in that water. And then underneath again. I like painting nature. I feel like right now there's so much to talk about when it comes to nature and climate change and all these huge issues, single-use plastic. And I know I don't talk about it enough, but I certainly think about it all the time, that it's such a big deal. Trying to figure out what I can do, how I can help, or, you know, going to the store less makes a big difference, not driving my car as much makes a big difference, working from home, I hope, makes a big difference. Using what I have and trying to be satisfied with what I have and not just, you know, let's say if there was a potential void, filling that void with things, instead maybe filling my life with memories and art and that kind of thing. This is one of the reasons why I don't tell you guys what kind of paper to buy or what kind of paint to have, because I feel like using what you have is so important. Just use what you have and make it work. And as you have the money and the means and the time and it's convenient for you to get better quality paints or higher quality paper, then go ahead and do it. But don't just run out and get all this stuff, especially if you're just starting out and you're really not sure if you even like it. You know, you can still get a sense of if you like painting on crappy paper, on computer paper, 90-gram writing paper. You can totally use that and see if you like the experience or not. And then if you do, you know, and you happen to be in town because, or you happen to go by a store because you're there anyway, well then by all means, if that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. But I don't want to promote this idea that we all need to have new things, or we all need to have the best things, or we all need to have, you know, a never-ending supply of stuff, because that's where we get into trouble. So much trouble. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but I try not to use plastic. When we lived in Germany, we were actually in a plastic-free house, and it was amazing. And we got to Canada, and it felt like just you couldn't eat if you didn't buy food in plastic, because here even the bananas come wrapped in plastic. It's insane. And as much as I complained and wrote letters and voiced my opinion, nothing seemed to change. And I got to the point where you know, how do you try to survive that? So we recycle, which is really a joke because recycling isn't possible. I don't know if you guys know, but recycling, there's only 2 of the 7 numbers that are actually recyclable. Even though a lot of places will take all of the numbers, they end up in the trash anyway. So that's not really an option. Like, recycling has to be done at home. That's my opinion with that. And I think it's becoming the opinion of many people too. A lot of people are kind of waking up to the reality that we can't continue like this. Can't just drive our cars and get in planes and travel the world without any consideration, you know. And then of course I haven't said anything about this, because why would I? Because it's really none of my business what anybody does. But if you do your own research and you start looking into things like the meat industry or the agricultural industry, you know, or the fact that we're running out of sand. That's a pretty big deal. Everybody's moving towards glass and metal, but really we have a limited resources of glass and metal, and recycling is also not really a major option there either, because it's so expensive and the process to recycle is not exactly easy or environmentally friendly. So yeah, it brings us to a whole other question of, well, I mean, by no means am I saying we should be using plastic. I think unless you're in a hospital, I personally feel like that's the only place we really need it. Plastic should be in the hospitals. And things like helium, which we need for again, for hospitals, should be available in hospitals, not for party balloons, because we're running out of that too. We're putting it into these little balloons and we're releasing it into the atmosphere, and then voila, it's all gone. And when we need it, we don't have it. But things like IV bags and needles and what else? Pipes, all that kind of stuff. That all needs to be plastic in a hospital so that it's completely sterile. And that's where I think we should be using it if we're going to use it at all. But not in our hobbies, you know, not in our art rooms as much as possible. So when I go shopping, when I look for things, when I look at new art supplies, if I happen to already be in the area or if I'm searching online, even then someone's got to deliver it to me. So I'm not, you know, I know the postman is doing his thing anyway, but I feel like I should try to avoid that too. But then I'm looking for things. I'm saying, well, is there plastic on the stem? Is there plastic on the ferrule? Are the bristles made of plastic? Is my container plastic? Is there plastic in my paper? How are these things made? What are the most sustainable options? Because it's really hard to figure that out. Trees seem to be a sustainable option, or maybe hemp paper or cotton paper. But then, you know, the bigger question is, are they really? And I don't really know. I don't actually have the answer to my questions. I'm kind of putting it out there for you guys. What do you think? What do you think? How can we as artists help to make a difference? I think that's something definitely worth talking about. You know, I know that the minimalists love to talk about it, and that's something that I absolutely love watching minimalist shows. I love cleaning out my house or trying to downsize my things or avoiding shopping because of that thought of where am I going to put it and I don't need it and what's the point, and that whole principle concept. But for them, there's this, they talk about it all the time. They're always talking about environmental issues and the fact that these are really big problems, and I don't see many artists talking about this stuff. So I'd like to start a discussion. What do you guys think? I guess I should leave that as my rant for today. Not that I'm going on and on forever and you're unsubscribing because you're sick of me. Okay, so back to the painting. So here I'm just going to continue what I've been doing, and I've been layering it in. So I've got a little bit of color up here. It's doubled in the middle. It's even tripled down here. I'm just going to continue doing the same thing. I think my second camera just charged up, which means I could get a view of from the side. At least it'll be ready for next time. Okay. Just gonna layer on this water again. And let's go ahead and do both sides. Now, part of the trick here is when you're getting down to the end that you don't lose your flow and go too fast, because it's really easy to start thinking, oh, well, I'm at the end, it looks simple, let's just, you know, throw something on really quickly and be done with it. To kind of keep that similar motion, don't lose your pace just because you're almost done. Okay, coming around, I'm going to fill it all in. It looks pretty good. And bring this up in here a bit. Now let's pick up some more color because I've run out. It's going to be very dark. Oh, the sun is starting to go down. That's beautiful. I just love the orientation of this studio. It faces west. South is over there to where the goats are, and there's a lot of trees, but it faces west, and it's just gorgeous. I get to watch the sunset every day. So this is still wet, so I'm going to tap in this slightly darker color. And I am coming back and referencing my fig leaf. I think that's very important. Keep looking at what your subject is. I should have made the color first so that this wouldn't dry quite so much, but it's okay. Okay, here tapping it in. It's almost completely dry over here. So I'm just lightly tapping it. It's not going to have a lot of bleed going on, but it will hopefully still be quite pretty. But I'm not going to have quite so defined edges because it's bleeding out into a softer bed of water. Into a bed of water. Which makes it softer. That makes more sense. Okay. There we go. Let's tap in some little bit of color and texture and information here in the core. And then, do I want to do that yet? No. Not really. I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm just going to add some water to the sides of this. So bring that green down. There we go. I'm going to lift out a little bit of this vine work here, the veins, right? Just a little bit. Okay, and now I think we should have some yellow. We'll find a yellow that's actually yellow. I think we should have a little bit, like exactly, a little bit there, and some, I'm just going to tap it in the sides, see if this is still wet or not, I don't know. And then it also flows up in here. And here. Did any of you guys have a chance to paint some tulips? That's what we were doing last on the live video, the live tutorial. I'm wondering if, yeah, if you guys had a chance to do that. And if you did, are you happy with them? Oops. Ta-da! Okay, this side needs more. This whole core needs more green. So we're going to build it up. We're going to use some indigo. And we're going to use some yellow. I think this is green yellow. I'd have to look it up. I don't have my legend. Anyway, it's a version of yellow. And we're going to kind of do what we did with the grapes. We just want to tap it in. Actually, I think I might want to use this one. Maybe, maybe not. No, it's okay. Okay, the key here is I really have to push a little bit, which is not good for the tip, so I'll use this one again. If I want a tip, if I want the tip of the brush to come to a tip, then roll the brush. We'll get it back to a point. Okay, and we're in here. You see how it's a little darker in this spot? So at this point, it's all about layering it on and making sure that we don't miss anywhere. Bringing it right down into the veins. Okay, the green bump is kind of here, and then there's another little bit that's darker way down here. And then here, there's definitely, oh, that's the shadow. Oh, that's the sun. That's pretty. Okay, so let's go a little bit of dark green here. Almost looks more like a maple leaf now. The joys of layering, right? So let's come all the way down into this core. I think I need a little more under here, under here. And let's also put in, what is this, the fourth layer up here. Notice that those white spots are still white. Isn't that neat? How it just adds such a beautiful texture. Just love it. Okay. Way under here. All right, now the next question is, do we leave it like this or do we add a tiny bit of line work? And I think I want to add some brown. I know that probably sounds weird, but there's all this brown on the edges, so that would make for pretty line work. Okay. This paint is not very thick yet. So I'm just working on that by trying to get more and more off of the, activate more paint off the palette. Okay, so way up here. Just a little bit down here. In here, there's a whole bunch where the leaf is drying. This is why, of course, it fell off. It had dried. It was drying up, and then I knocked into it. And there's a tiny bit on the tip, which mostly comes across this side. And it's the same technique we've been doing all the way along, except these are much tinier lines and squiggles. And they're also going to dry lighter. So we'll have to come back with a darker color and add more in if we decide that it's too light. And that we want more. Add some indigo to that to make it a little darker. And I think I want to dot in just a few dots here, because it's really not all one color, the browning. A little bit in here, and a little bit down here. And a little bit in here. Oh, it looks pretty good. Okay. What do you guys think? Ta-da! There's our little fig. Little light, fluffy, kind of transparent, very pretty little thing. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Really, this was layering. This was scumbling, which is a technique of dancing the brush across and layering the colors. And the whole thing is only done with the green and then a little bit of yellow and then this different tones of brown. So you've really got 3 tones on here to create this really interesting piece. But all of this green, this is all the same mix. It's just layered in. So if you feel like your colors are not dark enough, you want to layer them, layer them, layer them, layer them. And the more you layer them on, don't necessarily layer them all at once, not that you're going to make a giant soup, but just go ahead and layer them, let them dry a little bit, layer them on, let them dry, layer them on, and you're going to end up with something bulkier with more intenseness. And I would even come back and maybe add a little bit in here because I think I lost that detail, except I have to get a green again. I do always do this, don't I? So yeah, somewhere back in here, because some of those blurbs just became one giant mess and they kind of got lost. So some of these spots are just too big, but by adding a second or third or fourth or however many layers this is, to like here, then they'll become a little more interesting. So I'm just adding the dots onto places where the dot below is too big. Or in this case, just trying to darken this up a little bit more. Okay, now we can wait and see, let this dry. It's a lot of let it dry, see how it looks, decide if you want to continue. See, this entire thing is turned into one big pile, but if I come back with little bits of little smaller dots, even though they're squiggly, I can layer them on and break it up. I know I'm really repeating myself a lot here, but that's what I'm doing. A lot of repeating. Down here. Ta-da. Okay. I think that looks much better. Again, this one little spot, it's spreading, so when it dries, I could probably put in maybe 10 little dots on that spot. So we'll see if I do that or not. I don't know. I like it the way it is. I think it's quite good right now. There we go. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Scarlett, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Again, please don't pay any attention to my hands because I've been doing so much work in the studio getting it ready, getting it finished and complete, and all this good stuff. Yeah, so I'm covered in paint, and I've just been absolutely terrible. I promise in the next few videos you'll see an improvement to my hands, and overall it'll start improving. I hope. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Toodaloo!